So today we're going to be doing a resistance band workout for the upper body. We're going to be focusing on the muscles from the waist up, doing a lot of chest and back. Now, I noticed that you guys have been liking the resistance band workouts more often, so thank you for that. That lets me know that you want more of that type of content. So, thank you, that helps communicate that. And if you like this sort of content and want to see more, hit that like button for me. It helps support the channel and it lets me know you want more of this type of workout. So thank you for the support. Let's go ahead and get started. I wanted to show you guys a exercise I think is very neglected by most people, and it's for a muscle called the serratus anterior, which runs right here across your rib cage to your shoulder blade. Sort of creates that feathery muscle appearance here in your ribs. If you ever see like the superheroes where they've got the feathery muscle across here, that's the serratus anterior. So this is a great stabilizing muscle of the shoulder blade. It's one of the two main stabilizers of that shoulder blade. So if you ever have clicking in your shoulder, especially in a bench press sort of exercise, this is a great warm-up exercise to start with, to make sure your serratus is activating during that. So what you're going to do is we're going to, just like a chest press, start with the band right at chest height. But we're going to do something a little bit different with this one. So since we're working the muscle right in here, we don't want our chest and arm to engage on this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten my arms so my elbow is completely straight. I don't want to have any bend in the elbow because that will utilize the tricep. So we want to eliminate those triceps. So I'm going to step forward until I feel that tension in the band pulling me back. So I'm starting with my shoulder blades pinched together. Now in a chest press, I'm doing all from that elbow and chest. I'm not doing any of that with this. So for this movement, all I'm doing is going from, I'll show you from the side, my shoulder blades pinched together is the starting position, and then I'm pushing my shoulders out forward. So it's a very small movement. It's like a 1-inch punch. If you ever saw Bruce Lee doing that 1-inch punch, it's just like that, except for we're doing it slow and controlled, pushing out and then back. Now, you might feel tempted to bend your elbows. It's very important to make sure your elbows stay straight. It's all from the shoulder blade. So I'm pushing my shoulder blades out forward and then back. So I'm engaging that protraction of the shoulder is what this movement is called. So it's that stability of the shoulder blade. And doing about 10 of these, you could even go up to 20 of these at a lighter weight as a warm-up. So it'll help warm up that muscle. You might feel sore in that muscle after, or very fatigued in it. A lot of people don't work this muscle that much. They don't do anything sort of pulling that shoulder blade forward into a stable position. They always try and keep it pinched back, which pinched back is half of it. That retraction is good, but imagine it like a seesaw. If one side's really strong, we want to strengthen the other side too. So we're pulling that shoulder blade flat into the rib cage. So give that a try. Let me know how it goes. So that's a great warm-up exercise for the shoulder. Now, the other way, side of that movement is retraction, or pulling the shoulder blades back. And I like to do that as part of a row movement. So starting with your hands out in front of you, we're warming up the shoulders, getting them ready to work out at heavier weights. So I'm starting with a slightly lighter resistance band for this. So for retraction, I'm going to pull my shoulder blades back in together and then pull back with my hands to my rib cage. So back forward and then pulling back, pinching the shoulder blades together. So it's very important to come all the way forward so it pulls my shoulder blades forward and apart, and then pinching back and together. Doing between 10 and 20 of these, warming up those shoulders. I really like the band on that movement because I feel that it is a very effective way of targeting that serratus anterior on the press movement. A lot of times people, when they're doing even dumbbells, will start getting their chest involved in it, where they start pulling in a little more like a fly, as opposed to just pushing straight out forward against the band. So with that, try that. Let me know if it doesn't help your shoulder, or let me know if you feel the difference in your pressing movements. So I like to start that as a warm-up, getting the muscles around the shoulders activated so your shoulder blade is moving fluidly along your rib cage. So now, I add weight to that. So I'd like to start it with a lighter weight and then move to a heavier weight as we go. So that lets your body ease into a workout rather than going in cold. Now, if you need to, you could do, instead of going all the way up to the full weight that you want to work at. For instance, I'm wanting to do about 55 pounds per side. So that's why I've got the 3 bands. Now, if I wanted to ease into this a little bit more, I would do the red plus black before adding the blue, just to if I wasn't feeling quite warmed up yet, I would add 1 band at a time to ease into that weight, just to get my joints less at risk of having an injury or of overworking. But for today, I feel pretty warmed up, so I'm going to go straight into it, into a chest press. Now, I like this exercise because it's a compound exercise. It's working a lot of muscles all at once. It works that tricep and the chest. I'm going to do what's called a narrow grip chest press. So I'm going to bring my hands in to emphasize a little bit more of that tricep. So I'm going to step forward until I feel that pull of the band pulling me back. Actually, John, today we're going to do standard because we'll hit tricep a little bit more later, actually. So standard chest press. I'm going to have my hands still starting in the same spot. I'm going to go wide, bending my elbows to the back. Now I'm trying to keep my back straight, so I'm not rounding forward like this. I'm pushing my chest out till end. I'm going to adjust just a little bit. I'm going to step forward just a tad bit more because I want there to be tension in the band all the way through this movement. That's the most important part. So I'm pushing out towards the front and then back. Trying for between 10 and 20 reps. About 10 reps is good. Now, the exact rep count doesn't matter. It's more that we're going for a challenge in the muscle, and 10 is a good ballpark number to aim for. It could even be as low as 5, but the thing that does is it puts a lot more tension. And so that can be harder on your joints, especially if you're just starting out. Now, if you know your body responds well to that, doesn't hurt your joints, there's no problem with doing only 5 reps at a heavier weight. But for a lot of people, 10 reps is a much more comfortable place. They're still building muscle. And they're challenging that muscle. So you can either be high tension or higher fatigue from more reps. Either of them will cause you to grow muscle. So I like to do exercises in pairs. So I did a pushing movement. Now I'd like to do a pulling movement. Some people divide up their pushing exercises into one day and their pulling into another day. That's totally fine too. What I found works for me is more of a upper body and full body split. So one day I work upper body because it recovers faster than my legs do. And then the next workout I do full body, trying to hit a little bit of everything. So for a row, doing the same thing, going all the way to the front, pinching my shoulder blades, pulling back to my rib cage. Trying to pinch those shoulder blades together. And relax. Just turning on a fan real quick. And now, for all these, I'm trying to get multiple sets in because your muscle actually grows faster if you can get more sets done. So where we repeat the same exercise more than once in one session. So you grow some from one set, but if you can do more sets, that will speed up the growth of that muscle over time. So the more sets you can fit in a week, the more you're signaling that muscle to grow. Now, if you don't have time, one set is fine, but the more time you can invest into it, the faster you can see those results. It's possible there's an upper limit to that, but it's pretty difficult to hit an upper limit. So trying to work out and get multiple sets in each workout, I'd like to aim for 3 times a week working out and trying to do at least 3 sets for most exercises, or if it's a very fatiguing exercise like legs, try and do 2 sets in a workout. So 2 to 3 sets, trying to get between 9 and 12 sets a week as a starting point. Or as what I do right now. Now, if you need to, you can start with 1 set and see how your body feels after that. And then try 1 set 3 times a week. Then, as you go, try and add more sets as you go. So maybe the first week you do 1 set. If you don't feel especially sore, try 2 sets. 3rd week, try 3 sets. Until you get to the point where you feel that you're too sore or you're pushing a little bit too hard, and then back off just a little bit and hold it there till your body gets used to that level. The thing I like about resistance bands is they're very versatile. You can do a lot of different exercises with just a set of resistance bands and something to anchor it to. You don't need a specialized machine, and they're a lot less expensive, especially starting out where you don't know what weight you need for each exercise. You could spend a lot of money buying dumbbells and realize that they're too heavy or too light. So these are a great option for starting out, learning what weight you need. Then if you want to, you can always buy different equipment later. All right, that was set number 2. I'm gonna try for one more set of upper body, doing chest press and row. Then we'll move in to some arm exercises. I have something new I wanted to try with the arm exercises today. I wanted to show you an exercise for really targeting it on those biceps using a resistance band. See if we can get that to work well. Now with this, we're working a lot of the shoulder muscles and chest muscles. We're working some of the tricep and bicep, but really want to focus in on those muscles to isolate them a little bit more, because I find a lot of people want bigger arms. And I mean, I want bigger arms too. I'm right there with you guys. So I'm trying to keep my hands wide. The reason I like to do pairings of exercises where I'm working one side and then the other. So I'm working the front with this exercise and then the back with the next. I find that people sometimes skip one direction, and that's not good because you're no longer balanced then, and it actually can cause problems for you down the road in your shoulders if you aren't working both sides. So if you ever see someone sort of hunch forward like this, these muscles in the back are not working well. These muscles in the front are really tight, and so they're walking around like this. I've seen people who are really in shape, quote unquote, but they're walking around like this. They're hunchbacked, and as they age, they'll go more and more forward if they don't correct it by going back. So that's why I really like working both sides to ensure that we stay upright and stable. Going here, pinching the shoulder blades back and pulling to the back. I know for me, after I got in a car accident and it messed up my spine, it took a lot of work to get those muscles re-strengthened around my upper back and shoulders. So they had all been damaged by that car accident. So I know how hard it is to regain that strength after you've lost it. And so I think it's so much more important to maintain that strength while you have it than try and get it back after you've lost it. And it takes actually a lot fewer workouts to maintain it. In number of sets, just to give a ballpark, the exact numbers vary from person to person, but it can take somewhere between 3 and 5 sets approximately to maintain muscle. As opposed to building muscle, it can take 10 or more sets. So per week, I should say. So trying to build up muscle over time, you would want to shoot for somewhere around 10 plus sets. Suppose if you're just trying to maintain your muscle, you could do less than 5 sets potentially and still maintain that muscle mass. Now, results vary on that. Everyone's a little bit different genetically. And depending on how much muscle you have, it can take more or less as well. So now I want to show you an exercise doing a preacher curl with resistance bands. Let's see if we can get this to work. So I'm going to grab a bench. You could probably do this with a chair, as long as you have a place you could anchor the band to on the chair. So I'm going to pull this up to at an angle. I have this at about a 50-degree angle. What I'm going to do is take the band and wrap it around the base of the bench so it's anchored a little bit forward. So, because I want this to be, hang on a moment, let's move this back so you can see a little better. So I want this to be low on the bench, so it's not, so if I'm here, it's pulling me down towards that bench. So it's trying to go straight down if your elbow is up on that bench. So with my elbow here, I want it to be where the band is right underneath my hand. So it's pulling straight down. And from here, I'm gonna curl up. So see, the band is sort of pulling at an angle away from me a little bit. So as I go down, I need this to actually change just a little bit. What I'm gonna do is put this even further forward. Playing around with it just a little bit today. So the goal with this is to have the band pulling down in an angle so that when I'm most extended, it's pulling this way through my hand. So I'm going to try and angle this just a little bit more back. All right, so from here, I'm going to pull up. Yeah, it's slipping on me. We're gonna try something a little different. I was thinking that was gonna work. We tried it, didn't quite work for us. So we're gonna do a little bit different of a curl. I'll move this out of the way. Yeah, sometimes we don't know if it's gonna work till we try. It isn't giving me the tension I thought it was going to for the band. That is the thing with the bands, is sometimes you want to try it, see if it works. And if you're not feeling it connect to the muscle, if you're not feeling that pull in the muscle, you need to change it up to try it a little bit differently. So what we're going to do instead is a twisting curl into a press. So I like this because we're getting both a curl and a tricep overhead press in one movement. So you're going to start with your hands at your sides, and from here you're going to pull up to the front. Now I want to keep my elbows right at my sides of my rib cage for this, for the first part. So I'm pulling up to the front, turning my hands out, pressing. Whoa. That was a lot of tension. All right, so we're gonna do something a little different. It's a little bit of a weird day. Sometimes that happens. So these bands, as they do age, they do fray a little bit. And over time, I've had these a few years, they do eventually need to be replaced. The nice thing is they're a lot cheaper to replace. These are a pretty high quality band. I think I've actually had these probably about 5 years now. So eventually, just like a rubber band, if you stretch it over and over, eventually it does wear out. These do too, but they're pretty cheap to replace. And what I would watch for is any sort of fraying in the rubber. And when you start noticing that, you know the band is starting to fatigue out. I use this one a ton. So this one is probably has more wear and tear than my other bands, but I've gotten a lot of good use out of it. Just something to be aware of, to check your bands to make sure they're not fraying so that it doesn't snap when it's under use. You want to get rid of them before that point. So let's do something a little bit different then. I'm going to use the black band. Sorry, we're changing things up a lot today, but want to make sure that we get a good workout in. So we're going to do a horizontal curl. So what I want to do is have the band right at leg height, or right at where, if my hands was at my side, it's pulling straight across. I'm going to use a combination of the blue plus black band. That's about the same weight as the red band, I believe. So I'm doing this a little bit lower. So we're going to do a banded curl. So going here, letting the band pull me back. From here, I'm going to curl up, pulling against the band. Now you can lean forward just a little bit so that the band pulls straight back at that bottom position. I should feel that tension in the bicep, in the upper arm. Especially in this bottom position. and relax. Then we'll bring the band up higher. So now working the triceps. So I want the band right at about chin level, between throat and chin level. So this is called a skull crusher. So I'm gonna have my hands right by my ears, my elbows tucked in, and then from here, pushing out to the front, and then back, keeping those elbows up. So this is working that tricep muscle right here on the back of your arm. Trying to keep my elbows bent and up. Hands go back to the ears, really trying to bend that elbow, create tension in that muscle. This muscle goes all the way from the back of your elbow to your shoulder blade. And relax. I'm gonna put this band on this one just a little bit lower, so that way it catches on the rack and doesn't pull up on me. So I felt like it was slipping just a little bit in the last one. So wrapping it around something where it can't slip up is a good idea. So stepping forward, feeling the band pull you back. So it's pulling back, straight back away from the bicep, and then bending the elbow, pulling up. So it's putting that tension in the bottom of that movement. So down here, it's pulling straight back and away. And that's what's gonna get you that bicep activation a lot more than if it was pulling straight down. So pulling at an angle. I really like these. These are a variation of a cable bicep curl, but using a band instead of a cable. And relax. So I like to do multiple sets of these to really build up that arm muscle. So I found these were the first bicep exercise that really felt like I was building up my arms more. I would do curls and more standard dumbbell curls and never felt that real fatigue in the bicep until I did this variation where it's pulling at an angle rather than straight down. And that made all the difference for me. Now, if there are other exercises that work really well for the bicep too, started doing preacher curls and things like that, and that did help as well. But still, for that biceps brachii, which is the muscle that runs from the front of the shoulder down into the inner part of your arm on the top, I found that that exercise has been the most effective for me. So let me know in the comments if you found an exercise that works really well for bicep exercise for you. I'd love to hear what's working well for you. So the reason we're doing all these is we want to make sure that the muscles stay strong and healthy and are able to maintain and grow. So we all lose muscle as we age, especially if we don't use it. So the more muscle we can build up, the more we can counter that muscle loss as we age. So, and healthy muscles means a lot of different things. So it can help your joints move correctly. So it helps reduce joint problems in the future. It can also influence blood pressure and other things that will affect all sorts of organs in your body. So as we build muscle, it increases the amount of capillaries to those muscles and takes all that pressure off of the other parts of your system. So it can help with cardiovascular as well. It also can help store sugar in the muscles rather than in the fat. So the more muscle you have, the more that sugar goes to the muscle and not to the fat and other cells in your body. So that can be a great thing if you're trying to reduce fat, is increase the muscle mass you have and how much you're using it to help with where your calories are being stored, as well as the muscle helps improve insulin sensitivity to that muscle by using it. So it can actually have a hormonal effect as well to increase that muscle mass. Because all cells in your body send signals to the rest of your body. Or I should say most cells do. Oh. So if we're storing a lot of calories in fat, what happens is your fat cells divide and get bigger, and so they send more and more hormone, more and more signaling to your body, and they have a larger, it's like each cell was a person in a crowd of people. The more fat cells you have, the louder that part of the crowd is. So we want to try and increase our muscle mass and our muscle size to have that part of the crowd be louder, be more, and sending better signals to your brain and your body, telling your body what to do with the resources it has. So we want the muscle to be the bigger part of that. All right, so last set of skull crushers. So elbows tucked in, pushing out straight, trying to keep those elbows up. So I'm really keeping the elbow above the shoulder. So this is pulling me back, trying to put all that tension on the elbow. That's a little bit too high because I need it to pull down and away. There we go. Because I want this part of the movement to be under tension. And what working out does, imagine that crowd metaphor. So what working out does is hand an amplifier, like a megaphone to those muscle cells. So it gives your muscle a louder voice to cause change. So I have one more exercise I want to do with you guys, and for this you need a lighter band. Now this is a great exercise for the rotator cuff, these muscles right back here in the back of the ball and socket. So we're going to do a face pull. So there's a couple different ways to do a face pull. One, we're going to do the second one of these, but I'll show you for just a second. So you can do it like this, and then pull with your wrists sort of flat towards your face. What I like to do though is more of an underhanded grip face pull, because you get more of that rotational movement of the shoulder. So going here and pulling to your ears rather than to your chin. So pulling to the ears and then back. Try and get the hands wide. So if I'm going, I don't want to go here, I want to go here and really make almost a W with my upper body. So going here, pulling into that W, pulling the shoulders back. So I'm working the muscles in the back of the ball and socket of the shoulder. So it's a little different from a row because I'm not pulling back like this, I'm pulling up. Even if I was pulling to my chin, I'd still be pulling up. So it's actually the reverse of that row that pulls a little bit down. And so that's a great exercise for that rotator cuff, and that posterior deltoid has to work as well. So we're pulling that shoulder back somewhat into extension and external rotation. So this is internal rotation, external rotation of the shoulder. So anytime I'm rotating out, that's external. Rotating in is internal. The thing is, the chest muscle, the lats, both pull in. So a lot of times people miss the muscles that pull out because they don't do these types of movements. They don't do those external rotation movements as much because they're not as visible of a muscle. It's a small muscle set back here called teres minor that rotates out like that. But that small muscle helps hold that shoulder together, and that's why we want to make sure that it's strong and healthy, because if it's not, it can cause problems to the nerve in your shoulder. You can actually pinch that nerve, and we don't want that. So we're going to strengthen that muscle, doing a couple sets of these at least. So I think it's a good exercise to do. If not you could do it every workout, but even just a couple times is better than nothing. So doing some shoulder rotation, doing that face pull, because it's better to maintain the strength in that rotator cuff than trying to have to build it back later, or having a rotator cuff tear. A lot of people have had those, and they'll tell you it is not fun to regain that strength. And it doesn't take a very heavy band to do this because it's a small muscle. So I'd start light and then try and go for reps on this one. So I like to do 3 sets when I do this exercise, but I take just a minute between to let the muscle recover. So a lot of times I found really big guys, they're, big chest, triceps, biceps, very strong, and they haven't done this exercise, so they go and try and lift this. They have to start with a really light weight because their rotator cuff is actually not caught up to the rest of their muscles. A lot of times the reason they're looking for advice is because they've started to have shoulder problems, and a lot of times this rotator cuff is so weak it can't keep up with the other muscles. So that's why I like this exercise to start with. Keep that rotator cuff strong and healthy, and keep it growing along with the other muscles that you're building. So going here, last set, pulling back, rotating up. You could do as few as 10, but I try and go about 12 on this one. And relax. So that's our workout for today using resistance bands. If you like these sort of workouts and want to see more, I host them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. Hope to see you guys.